Welcome to the Real Vision Podcast. I am your host, Chris Whitaker. And first and foremost, I just want to take a moment to just say I am truly humbled and grateful for all of you who have reached out to me and said, man, you need to share your story. You need to share your experience because it's truly inspiring me. And so that was the premise of how this podcast came to be. I started feeling obligated to share the things that I've been going through over the past few years, because it's been a process, and each year it's been a new thing that's been added to my process that has gotten me to this place that I'm at right now. And so I just want to say I'm grateful, I'm humbled, and I wouldn't be doing this without you guys. So I really appreciate that. One of the things that I started to really think about that changed my life, and it's a question that I want to ask you right now. When is the last time you've really thought about what it is that you want out of life? I mean, with no judgment or reservations, when is the last time you thought about what your ideal day would look like? You see, this was a question that once I started to think about this, one, I realized that I hadn't thought about this ever before. Sure, we may have goals and ambitions and desires, but can you get very detailed with what that is? If somebody asked you right now, how detailed can you explain to them what an ideal day would look like? You see, most of our existence we spend being creatures of habits, often reacting to what life seems to be bringing to us, and never taking a moment to just sit and reflect on what it is that we want. And so I want to really share the steps that helped me clarify exactly what that was. One of the first things I had to do was I had to cultivate a positive mindset. I knew that no matter what situation that I'm in, me being upset about it is not going to make it any better. So it just made sense to just think positively about everything, right? And the way that you get into this place of trying to just think positive about as much as you can is it starts with an attitude of gratitude. I literally wake up in the morning and I immediately express how thankful I am for another opportunity, another moment to live this life. So whatever's going bad, I get a chance to fix that. Whatever's going good, I get a chance to improve on that. See, so often we want more out of life, but we are not appreciative for the things that we currently have. Do you realize that we'll look at our lives and we'll say how bad things may be, and yet other people on the outside will be looking at us and they'll trade their right foot to be in your place? And so how do you get into this attitude of gratitude? We just look at all the things that you currently have. Think about the things that make you happy. If you have children, if you're in a relationship, if you have a home. I mean, the list goes on and on things that I guarantee you, if you just sat and thought about, that you can be grateful for. So now when I'm dealing with the bad stuff, right? Dealing with traffic on the way to work, having an attitude of gratitude makes me be appreciative of the fact that I'm even in a vehicle. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be able to train your mind to be able to see that as bad as things are, they could be a lot worse. So be thankful to even be going through what you're going through. And realize that a lot of these things, man, we go through what we go through, and these are not hurdles per se. You know, and you'll oftentimes hear me in this podcast reflect to the gym, and it's because like it was through the gym that it really showed me that through the pain comes the growth. You have to go through it. And so my perspective about things that are not ideal completely shifts. And I get into a space where it's just, Even if it doesn't feel good, I'm thankful to experience that pain, because some people can't even feel that. And while you're in this attitude of gratitude, what I love about this is that it gives you the power of contrast. And so what I mean is that you could look around in the world and you get an opportunity to just see all the things that you either want or you don't want. And it's very easy to discern between the two. You see something that doesn't make you feel good, that immediately allows you to realize what it is that you do want. And so if we would spend more time having this ability to differentiate between what we want and what we don't want, and we just spent more time focusing in on what it is that we do want, our lives will begin to change. At least it happened for me. Understand that everything that I'm saying, I'm only sharing my thoughts. I'm only sharing my experience. Do I feel like this is a one-size-fits-all method? Hey, I'm just only could tell you what works for me. When people ask the question, what did you do? This is what I did. I developed an attitude of gratitude. I started harnessing the power of contrast. And then I started treating life like a menu. You see, you literally can have anything on the menu that life offers towards you. All you have to do is make the decision. But just because what's on the menu is something that you don't like, that doesn't mean that you leave the restaurant. That just means that you flip the page, right? And so when I started looking at things this way, it really helped me become very clear with what I wanted. You see, there's a book that I read called The Strangest Secret. And in this book, he gives a strategy that you should use. Grab a note card, and on this note card, in present tense, write down what it is that you want out of life. You ain't got to overcomplicate it. You see, I think we overcomplicate what it is that we be wanting. Maybe because it's this sense of feeling as if wanting certain things is maybe selfish, or you feel like you're not worthy. I don't know. But I tell you what though, I had heard this concept too many times. Law of attraction, thoughts turning into things. And at this particular juncture in my life, at that time, I said I got to do something different. I've been hearing this strategy. I see so many people talking about its effectiveness. Why haven't I tried it? So I grabbed my note card and I wrote down in present tense what it was that I wanted. And it had a variety of different things on there. I'm a loving father, married to a beautiful wife, generating the desired income that I wanted at that time. And the interesting thing about this is that I would look at this day in and day out, multiple times. I would wake up in the morning, I would read it. When I would be at work, I would read it. And in a short time period, within 30 days, things started to happen in my life. I started to develop a skill set. I started to see opportunities that would allow me to be able to live exactly what I had written out on this note card. Now, see, what you want to do when you're trying to figure out what it is that you want. And when I said earlier to remove any judgments or reservations about whatever it is you put down on that paper. You want $1 million, write it down. Whatever it is that you want, write it down. Now, here's the kicker. After you've written it down, ask yourself why it is that you want it. If you want whatever it is because you don't have it, then you're going to keep pushing it away from you receiving it. I'm going to give the example. So I have been working this same job for 8-9 years. It was a guy that came up to me, one of my coworkers, and he said to me, he said, Chris, why do you work here? I looked at him. He was like, I mean, you do so many things outside of here. You're not making that much money here. Why do you work here? That wasn't the first time I had been asked that question, but it was the first time I really didn't have an answer as to why. Now, during this same time, I'm starting to get into taking filming seriously. And so my brother-in-law asked me to come film a wedding with him. And I go out and I film this wedding, and I realized that it was possible for me to do it. And I became so empowered because I knew that if I developed my skill behind the lens, that I would be able to generate income one way or another. And so the focus for me began to shift. I was no longer concerned with quitting my job because I hated working for somebody and they not gonna pay me what I'm worth and all of these things. And it switched into a place where I was only focused on developing behind the camera, because the more developed I was getting, the more opportunities that I was going to be able to provide for my family. It empowered me. So shortly after he asked me this question, I had filmed my first wedding. And after this project was done, my brother-in-law did the edit on this video and he sends it to me at work. And it's so surreal because this is all within like a week. The guy asks me the question. A week later, the project that I filmed comes back. And when I watched this wedding video, I immediately called my wife and I said, I'm about to put my 2 weeks in. She was like, whoa. I was like, babe, I figured it out. I can go film weddings. I just filmed this one and look how let me just send it to you. I sent it to her in excitement. She tells me, just slow down, just hold up. I was like, you don't understand. I just need to go be behind the camera. Shout out to my wife. About a month goes by after I filmed this wedding. I ended up doing about 3 weddings during this time period. My first wedding was in October of 2022. And so I ended up doing about 3 weddings to end the year with. And I remember I was looking at the affirmation or the note card that I had written, and I was reading it regularly. And one of the lines that was on there was that I'm highly requested for my services on the camera. And here it was, not even 30 days later, I'm filming weddings. January comes, another line that I had written on this note card was that I'm a serial entrepreneur. Well, January comes and I quit my job and I went full-fledged into entrepreneurship. And before I knew it, not only did I have a media business, but then I launched a logistics company at the same time. And then I started looking at the amount that I put on this note card about what I wanted to make. And I started looking at what my business was generating, and it was the exact amount. So there has to be some science behind this dynamic of being intentional and designing what it is that you want out of life. So at what point are you going to start becoming intentional with this? Because there's other people that's out there doing this. Anything's possible. You remember when KG said that? Anything's possible. Well, it's true. Anything is possible. But it's not going to be possible if you ain't even sitting around thinking about it. So write this down on your note card. Put it on your phone. Visualize it. Read it daily. Multiple times. Get in tune with how the experience would feel. You write down what you want, you ask yourself why. And now that you know it's from a place of, I want to just experience this, not because I don't have it, but because this would just be something I want to experience. Now describe to yourself what it would feel like. Some people will say, well, I don't know what $1 million would feel like. But if you had to describe it, if you had to imagine what it would feel like, can you do that? I'm sure you would feel free. You would feel happy. You'll feel joy. You start getting into that space of what those emotions would be like, because you can relate with happiness and joy and freedom and peace and so on and so forth, right? You may not know what the million feels like, but you sure know what these other things that have come along possibly with having the million would feel like. So now that I'm visualizing and now that I'm cultivating a positive mindset, I had to get out my own way. And I had to overcome this self-doubt and fear. False evidence appearing real. You know, it's the fear that a lot of times stops us from even taking a chance. We won't even, and here's the wild part about the fear. A lot of times the very thing that we're the most fearful about generally never happens. I started thinking about a lot of times where you're like, oh man, I got to give this speech and I'm so nervous and I hope I've studied hard enough, and you get faced with whatever that obstacle is, and after you go through it, you was like, this wasn't even that bad. What was I tripping on? What was I afraid of? Fear has stopped so many people from evolving and becoming the best version of them. Because along with this fear introduces self-doubt. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm this condition, I'm that condition. And the reality is none of that stuff matters. It doesn't define who you are, because you can change it. You just got to make the decision. And I want to be the first person to tell you that you are worthy. Don't you know what it took for you to even exist in this world? That alone should empower you to be like, I'm a miracle. And when you know that you are a miracle and how blessed it is for you to have this life, you realize that you're worthy to have everything that life offers to you. So don't let another minute continue to pass by where you're not bringing your awareness and intention to what it is that you want to experience out of life. And if it starts to get a little challenging, as it will be, start thinking about the things that you're grateful for. Develop this positive mindset. And then start visualizing what it is that you want out of life. Tell yourself every single day that you're worthy. Remove this self-doubt and the fear. So try this for 30 days. Be mindful to be grateful when you wake up in the morning and throughout your day. Visualize on what it is that you want to experience and remove that self-doubt and fear. And watch how things change in your life. Don't let the self-doubt and fear stop you. Just remember, the worst case scenario hardly ever happens. I want to thank you all for tuning in to the Real Vision podcast. I am truly grateful for you taking the time. If you found some value from this podcast, make sure to go hit the subscribe button. Let me know your opinion in the comments and share this with your friends. And as always, man, day by day in every way, keep striving to get better and better. Peace.